Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time out, and hopefully this and the other workshops that we're going to run or have run in the past will help you kind of navigate the digital space during COVID, since it is being utilized so much right now. Jason is my husband, and so I got him on here. He's been working in the digital space for about 12 years, and works with small to medium sized businesses. And he's just kind of a pro at this stuff. So I thought his knowledge could help all of you kind of with anything that you're having trouble with. And Jason, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. You want me to get kicked off and start?
Yeah, I think we should be good to go.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm going to pull up and share my screen. I want to tell everybody thank you first and foremost for your time today. I know it's probably a crazy time and y'all are probably busy and have a lot of stuff to do. I'm excited about today and walking everybody through some of the learnings about digital advertising. Just to kind of preempt this is going to be a very kind of high level 101. So one of the things that we were kicking around was, if this is received well, be more than happy to do additional, seminars and workshops. If there's something that you would love to learn more about, please post your comments or, get in touch with Brittany and anybody from BAPA about it. We'd be more than happy to dive, deeper into any of the different, kind of subjects, because as we all know, digital advertising is a pretty wide and pretty complex, things. So we're going to touch base upon a few things today. As we start, the kind of overarching agenda that we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about how the internet's disappearing. We're going to do some fun facts and stuff about websites. We are going to, look into a little bit of SEO and what you can do with Google My Business. We're going to take a quick dive into search engine marketing and how you can experiment really, really cheaply with some Google Smart Ads. And then we're going to talk real quick about, social and how Facebook is really changing the game in today's environment. And so again, this is going to be kind of a high level 101. Not going to go too far deep into any of these, but if there's any one of these elements that you guys would like more information on, please reach out to Brittany or anybody from BAPA, and we'd be happy to do some more of this. So without further ado, to kind of get this bad boy kicked off. Oh, one other cool thing, I forgot about this. On the bunch of the slides, there's going to be some very sharp key takeaways. I'm going to have this, as you can see on there, kind of this green star that's on there. If you follow through with most of this, there's actually sprinkled out throughout this whole entire presentation. There's some really good actionable insights of things that you guys can go take back and do yourself and implement for absolutely free with no money. You don't have to have anybody else come in and talk to you about it. And so keep a lookout for that key takeaway icon there, because it's some stuff that you guys can do on your own. So I think one of the fun things that we want to do is just kind of kick this off with some fun stuff. So Eric Schmidt, who is, he's now the former chairman of Google, has this pretty famous quote that came out in about the early 2010s, where he talked about how the internet's going to disappear. And it might seem like a little bit of a controversial statement, but what he's talking about is not that the fact that the internet's going to disappear, but the way that we actually interact with the internet is going to disappear. And if everybody kind of thinks through, for some of us that are, 40 plus, you think back about, dial up and, how the internet was when we first started to go online and use it, and how much it drastically changed our way of thinking. That's kind of what this is promising or is starting to talk about. And the cool thing about this, and I don't know if anybody else has, loved this movie as much as I did when I was a kid, but Back to the Future 2, it's real funny because now they go back, into the future into 2015, which is now 5 years ago. But some of the interesting stuff that you see on here is that, dreamers have been shaping our future for years and years and years. And this was a cool thing from the movie. This was, Marty McFly Jr. He could boil this down. He could sit down and actually put on these glasses where he could order pizza. He could change up the air temperature and stuff in the room. They could look for different TV shows. And, 25 years later, Google comes out with like what they called Google Glass. And it's still a product that's, it's actually out there in the market, but it's basically a way for you to interact with the internet, via a set of shades. If you guys remember, this comic strip, Dick Tracy used to talk into his watch, which was, predicted in 1939. And then obviously, today we have this, right? We have this sort of technology. And so one of the interesting things to think about through all this is to think about how do these technology pieces and how do the people that are kind of shaping the future, how do they view what's going on with like marketing and advertising as it applies to your local business? And that's some of the stuff that we're going to get into. Just a couple other cool fun facts too. We're going to talk, wide, spread about, digital advertising, but there's so many more mediums that you can go touch base upon and that you can do stuff with. And these are just some fun facts. There's over 125 million hours of Netflix streaming done in just a day, which is crazy. I think now during COVID and during this whole pandemic, I'm probably about 10% of that. 6.6 billion internet searches in a day that happen across all devices. There's 269 billion emails sent in just one single day. There's 1.2 million people who join social media platforms every single day. And so this kind of gives you just a quick landscape of just how big, the overall marketing thing is. And one of the key things that you want to take a look at, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into this though, is you really want to make sure that no matter what it is that you're doing, that your context and a lens that you're thinking about your marketing and your advertising is really done from a mobile centric, place. You want to be thinking first and foremost about this and about how people interact and about how your ads are going to appear on here and how easy it is that you're making people's advertisements to show up. It's really no longer about the day and age of desktops, right? And mobile marketing, this tells you right here on the slide that the average person spends almost 4 hours a day on their phones and checks them up to 80 times per day, which is an amazing thing. Mobile is no longer really a technology. It's really a consumer behavior. It's where people are going to consume all their media. It's where people are going to get their news. It's where people are checking about updates about what's happening with, COVID-19, right? It's where it's everything. So that's one of the things that you'll kind of see through this. One of the other big things that I wanted to do, and you'll kind of notice this as a theme throughout this presentation, is I really wanted to take an opportunity to ask you to challenge yourself. This is a great quote by Stephen Hawking. If you guys, haven't read too much up about Stephen Hawking and what he did, fascinating life. He made his first, got super famous for the first time for writing a thesis and getting a PhD about how black holes don't exist. And then, about 12 years later, found out that they do and completely reinvented himself, went completely against every single thing that he had been known for. But the big thing here is intelligence is the ability to adapt and change. But the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it's the illusion of knowledge. And so when I think about every time that I consult with small and medium businesses, I really try to challenge them to, not just rest on the laurels about the things that they've done that have been successful in the past, not just do the same things that they were doing 10 years ago, to really think through and, open yourself up, open up your mind like a parachute, if you would, and, think through some of these things that we're going to kind of walk you guys through today. So the first thing that we want to do, that's kind of the fun slides on this, but now we're going to actually kind of get this and break this down and make this really actionable. Digital marketing, there's so many different things that you can do, right? And we're only going to touch base upon a few of those, but what I wanted to really try to do with this seminar, since this is really 101, is I wanted to try to make this kind of lay the foundation, if you would, for helping everybody understanding kind of like the order of priorities that you need to take. So the first thing that we have to do in today's day and age is we have to have a good website, right? That is the first foundational step of what, you have to do with digital marketing. Every single place that you have, whether you run an ad on Google or you're placing, listings on your Google My Business page, or you're doing something with Facebook or Instagram or an email, anything that you do, you want to be driving your traffic back to your website. So your website's got to be good and legit. After you have that website, you want to optimize it. And the art, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but optimizing your website is what allows you to actually get free traffic over to your website. And I'll explain to you that in a little bit. Once you do that, then there's a lot of things that your organic reach from your websites can't get. So you got to do some pay-per-click advertising. We're going to talk pretty closely about that one. Once you do some of that pay-per-click advertising, then you want to move into doing some cool social media stuff. And that's really going to be kind of the focus. Those 4 elements right there are going to be the 4 things that we really focus on today. And the kind of overarching theme about this is really you shouldn't be doing pay-per-click advertising until you have your websites like built, right? You shouldn't be experimenting and doing a lot of social media advertising until you have your website built. It's kind of like, think about that from the ground level up. This is kind of the order of things that you want to tackle. So it's kind of like tackle your website first, try to get as much free stuff then sit down, start to focus on paid search, then do some social media. And what we're not going to cover today, but I just wanted to kind of touch base upon this, is once you start doing this, depending upon what your budget is, right? And I understand that, you know, as a small and medium-sized business, that you have a limit, obviously, to the funds that you can spend in advertising. And that's a real pain point. We're going to talk about that a little bit more deeply. But once you get through and do kind of some of the social media advertising, then you can really start experimenting with some cool stuff like remarketing. You can do some display advertising. You can do video advertising. You can do all that kind of stuff. But really, don't do video, display, or remarketing until you've got your social, your paid search, your SEO, and your websites built up. And that's kind of the way that you should think about, you know, how do you start setting your priorities about what it is that you want to start to do to start to market your business, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a kind of a quick dive into some website best practices, okay? Because I think that this is very relevant. This was a very fun project for me to work on with Britt and Bappa. You know, again, very thankful to be here. And you know, as we're going through this, right? We live here in Beverly. You know, I'm searching around and looking at a lot of websites. There's a lot of websites out there that need a lot of help. So I figured one of the first things we could do is just really just challenge you. The first thing I want you to do is think about your customer's experience. Don't think about just having a website and just getting it done and putting it up there. Think about the experience that you are giving to your customers, because your website is, especially now during you know, this latest state of the land and where we're at with the pandemic, this is the only way that most people really interact with you. This is what they think about you when they think about, you know, your business. So your websites, you got to think about it like this. Your website, it's your storefront. It's what everybody says, you know, it's what everybody thinks about. Whether you have a brick and mortar or not, almost doesn't matter right now, right? Because most of the businesses are shut down. So most of the places that people are going for information about whatever product or service that you provide, they're going online. So it is you, right? You got to help your customers understand exactly what you do, and you got to do it simply, and you got to do it quickly. You need to provide, you know, easy to navigate layout, and I'm going to give you guys good examples of this too. You need to provide examples for how a consumer can navigate your menu to find out the different stuff that you have. Your website obviously needs to be found by the search engines, and then a real goal of it is to try to convert those customers into leads or transactions or revenue for you, right? How do you achieve those goals? Well, you got to design it with a mobile first idea. We'll talk about that in a second. You got to communicate your mission statement or your business objective to the customers right off the bat, right on the homepage, right? You need to pick a website template with simple navigational menus that allow you to list out all your services that you have. You got to optimize your website, and we'll talk about that again. And then you got to give your customers some simple call to actions, like directly on there, right? So I figured it might be fun. I started searching around. These are not Beverly or Morgan Park or 60643 businesses, but these are live websites. And this is a website that I was found as I was searching for, you know, kind of poorly designed websites. Believe it or not, this what you're looking at, the screenshot right now, is a terrible, you know, website that is still live today. And so everybody would look at that, I think, at first glance and go, yeah, that's awful, you know. But as you start to get into it a little bit deeper and you start to look at some other things, you know, you start to see this is like from the USGS, and it's a response to, like, you know, earthquakes to happen. This, though, is not too far off from what some of the small and medium-sized business websites right now look like. And again, I challenge you, you know, to think about it through your consumer's perspective. And one of the things that I've always asked, you know, clients and people that I work with to do as well is to not only think about it from, you know, your consumer's experience, but think about it from the experience of, like, what's somebody that's, you know, a millennial or somebody that's, 20 or 25 or 30 years old, what's their experience when they get on it? What would they think about you and your business if this is what they looked at, right? So obviously this is pretty poor as well. This, is an interesting thing because there's other tactics that the companies try to do. This was one where, you're just bombarding the customer right off the bat and trying to get them to like generate you a lead. A lot of times people don't want to give their contact information, right? And so if this is the home screen, experience that you're providing, you're missing the point because you haven't even really told the customer who you are, what you do, right? You're immediately asking them for information. It's a poor user experience. You got to give people stuff in order to receive an opportunity to communicate and to work with them in their business, right? So obviously that gets an X. One of the things that I always try to, no matter what your business is I always try to put it into context. Like think about it from Apple's perspective. And, this is not if you're an Apple or an Android user or any of that stuff, this is just purebred from a marketing perspective. Good website design, it doesn't have to be complicated. And there's a lot of templates and things that you can use out there that will help you with this. But I just want to kind of point out a few key things on this because this will hopefully help you at least think about how your website's being built and what it's designed to be, right? So the first thing you want to do is you want to give your website like an easy navigational menu of your products and services, no matter what you do. If you're a restaurant, you put your menu, you put your hours, whether you deliver, right? If you're an architecture firm, you put that in any of the information about do you do the design? Do you actually, outsource to other companies? What do you do, right? If you're a real estate agent, are you working, residential? Are you working commercial? What separates you from anybody else? But think about, an easy navigational menu up at the top that lists out very simply whatever your products and services are. Get it at the top. Let people find it very easy. People read top to bottom, left to right. And so you want to put your most predominant things in that easy navigational menu right at the very top of your website. Have a simple call to action, right? Don't be asking people for their information. Don't ask them for their name and their cell phone number and their email address and all this kind of stuff yet. Give them the opportunity to learn more about what you do, to buy the products, to opt in for the service. Don't do it right on your homepage, but give them a simple call to action that's directly on that page. The next one is, a picture speaks 1,000 words. A lot of times you don't have to sit down and write out a book about who you are or what you do or all that stuff. You can do that through other pages inside your website, like a contact us or about you section. That's a really good place to do it. But up front, like when somebody gets to your website, we are a very visual day and age. People want to see, people can assimilate, pictures a lot quicker than what they can do when they're sitting down and trying to read. So put something on your website that's very simple as pictures that helps people understand what it is that you do. And this, I've been helping local businesses like redesign their websites for years. And this is one of the primary, things we do is keep it simple, stupid. I'm sure, everybody's heard that acronym KISS, and that's really directly applicable here. You want to make your website easy to navigate, simple calls to actions with good, beautiful, high resolution pictures. So, picked out a couple that I thought were actually pretty good around here. Barbecue Shack, I don't know if they're on, this webinar, but I was poking through and just kind of looking at it. I was like, this is actually great because what do you have at the top? You got your address, right? You got where you're at, you got your phone number, you've got your logo, you've got the simple stuff. This picture tells me that you sell barbecue, right? You got hours and location, you got your menus, catering, about, and delivery. And this thing right here that they did, the big thing I wanted to call out too is, this delivery button here, there's a lot of people still that don't really understand, if a restaurant is delivering, if they have to go pick it up, is it curbside service, is it not? So this business right here in one simple image has told people who they are, given them their phone numbers, given them strong calls to action, give them the stuff that you want when you're looking for a restaurant, your menu, right? Giving you the delivery and telling you that, yes, we deliver. It's simple, right? It doesn't have to be complex. It's a very simple thing. This is another one from the Reality Executives. I like this one because it kind of follows that similar suit. One image tells you what this is all about. They're all about buildings. They're all about real estate. They got the phone number. They got the way to contact them. And then down towards the bottom, you have commercial, asset management, and residential. Simple, right? So again, you don't have to make these websites like overly complex and think about all the copy and all the content, all the stuff that you got to do. But what you do got to do is think about, am I delivering the message simply? Does the visuals of my website really stand out and show somebody who I am, and am I giving them the opportunity to reach out directly to me? Those are the most important key things that you can do on your website. I would tell you, pick your website apart. Hopefully right now some of you are like poking around and going through your websites and looking at it, and but just think about your website kind of from that lens, right? And then once we get done with the website, then we kind of move into this world of SEO. So SEO, just so you know, it stands for search engine optimization. But SEO is a very, very complicated service. SEO, I'm really not making the recommendation that you try to do a lot of SEO on your own self, because there's a lot of stuff in here. SEO, we could probably sit down and do 4 or 5 complete training seminars and not even really scratch the surface of it. But I figured that what we wanted to do, even with that, is I wanted to give everybody kind of an understanding of some of the very simple, free stuff that you can do right now that will make an immediate impact to your business, will make an immediate impact to you getting more traffic over to your website and more customers for you to ultimately have an opportunity to sell your products and services to. So if you simplify this out, right, you got to think about like this, like, what is a customer do? Why does somebody go for something? So people go and search for things because they already know what they're looking for, right? So they're going and they're using like the search engines almost as like a yellow pages or a white pages, if you would, where they would sit down, they're just going to go, hey, I'm looking for Frankenel's, right? I'm looking for Frankenel's Italian food. That's one level. But then the other level of people is that there's a lot of people out there that use the search engines to find something that they don't know about. They're researching stuff, right? And today, again, during, the pandemic is like a prime place for that. Like people are looking for, my roof is leaking. I don't even know if somebody's like out there right now. So I'm going to go and search around and use like, do people still come and visit homes during the pandemic? So you just think about that, because there's really 2 types of people that know what they're looking for. They're going to use Google as like a white pages, or somebody that's really looking to find something that they don't know about. And for just simple sake, if you guys haven't seen this, this is kind of a simple screenshot of how the search engine kind of shows some different results. So this is not the results that you see for all different services and stuff that are out there, but you see paid search up towards the top. Anytime you see one of these ads that says like ad, that means paid search. And then this organic or SEO section is always down below all of the pay-per-click ads. So we're going to actually talk about the organic section first right here, and then we'll talk about the paid search section up here in a little bit later. So SEO, search engine optimization, its real goals are to drive more organic traffic to a website. Okay, so I want to flip back to this real quick, because any click that your website gets that's down here in this section is everybody's favorite F word, and that's the word free. Okay, so it doesn't cost anything to have somebody click on your ad when it's down here in this section. And that's one of the most beautiful things about SEO. If you properly optimize your website to make it found by Google, then you will get a lot of free traffic over to your website. And it's a simple thing. The more people that get on your website, the more opportunities you have to sell them your product or service, right? So when you're thinking about it like that, from an SEO standpoint, you want to drive more of that organic traffic over to your website. You also want to increase your organic rankings. So again, to flip back to this, if you're way down here at the bottom of the search engine, or if you're, God forbid, on page 2, right, of Google where nobody goes, then you need to sit down and try to figure out how can you move your website up those search ranking positions to get you more easily found by customers, especially when you're thinking about it on a cell phone, right? You want to increase your conversions, which means you just want more of the people that get onto your website to either fill out a lead form or call you or just straight up place an order or come in or whatever, right? You want to increase your conversions, and you got to be thinking about it in the terms of providing a better experience. So those goals of SEO are achieved through a myriad of different ways. Google My Business, which that's a big thing that we're going to talk about today. But then there's a whole bunch of different other stuff. You can optimize on-page and off-page content for the websites. You can update homepage and menu metadata. You can do your schema markup, remove your 401 and 404 errors. These are all very technical terms. And what we're not going to go too far into detail with today, again, because of kind of time limitations and stuff, is we're not going to go into the super technical stuff. If that's something that you would like as a future, seminar, or want to find out more information, again, reach out to Britt, or anybody at Bappin. We'd be happy to set that up. Today, though, what we're really going to do is we're going to focus on this Google My Business, because I think that this is probably the most untapped and the easiest way for you for free, with nobody else having to work with you, to help you get your business listings online. So the big challenge that I have before we go into all the Google My Business stuff is I want you to sit down and please do yourself a favor and spend some time researching yourself, okay? Go to right here, what I typed in, this is just a screenshot for a search that I pulled this morning, right? I just searched for Beverly restaurants on Google, right? And what you want to do is when you're thinking about yourself, as whatever your business is, you want to sit down and literally write out, and this is kind of like a key action item for you to do to help your business, is sit down and write out what are the search terms that somebody would type in, like this one right here, this Beverly restaurants. What are those search terms that somebody would quote unquote Google, and do you show up for them, right? Like if you're, pick whatever your thing is. If you're a local plumber, right? If somebody goes and Googles, local plumbers near me, if you don't show up, you're missing opportunities, because these people are literally telling you that they need your service, right? And that's one of the most powerful things about digital advertising. But you want to look at, not only do you want to, sit down and go through that exercise of writing out, what do you think that you should show up for, and then do you show up for it? But you want to look at your competition too, right? So you want to look at how do you rank compared to your competitors? And the big thing here is, do you have the Google Places or the Google My Business listing? So just so everybody knows, Google Places, Google My Business, all of these ads that show up when you do a search like this, especially for local, small, medium businesses, this is a critical component to getting yourself found online. If I say Google Places, it's the same thing as Google My Business. They call it Places down here, but it's actually run through this thing called Google My Business. So here's your big key takeaway. So if you walk away from this webinar and every single thing that I've told you has been boring, then please just take this one action item for yourself, is to go look for Google My Business, okay? So if you look at here, this is just a screenshot, but I want you to, here's the address, google.com/business. And when you get there, you'll see this screen. This is exactly what you will see. I want you to click this Manage Now button and go through it, okay? Because what this is this is basically, think about it like a directory from Google that allows you to get your business on the homepage of Google, okay? I am shocked, and I don't know, I'm assuming it's none of you that are on this webinar right now, but I am shocked at the amount of businesses here in Beverly and Morgan Park area that do not have their listings like up on this. This is the number one easiest thing to do to get your business listings on here. What Google My Business is it's free. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to, kind of talk with you so much about this, because it doesn't cost you anything. It's literally spend a half an hour to go through this, if that, and all of a sudden your ads will be running, or you won't have ads running, but your business will be listed. It's a free tool that allows you to promote your business profile, and it allows you to promote your website on search and Google Maps, okay? With your Google My Business account, you can see and connect with your customers. You can post updates to your business profile. You can see how people are interacting with you. There's a whole lot of different stuff on there. But I would tell you that if you're like Frank and Ella, I've got them on here. They've obviously claimed their Google My Business listings. But just think about it. If somebody's going and searching for your product or your service or whatever it is that you do, this is free. This doesn't cost you anything to do it. If you get a click, it doesn't cost you anything. This is 100% free service. If somebody is searching for your product or service and you're not showing up, then you're literally just like, you're throwing money away, right? So that's the big key takeaway. And I'll show this one more time. Go to google.com/business, click this Manage Now button, and Google will literally walk you through how to claim your listings. You can put your phone number on there. You can put directions to your physical address. You can allow customers to engage with you on message. You can have your website directly in there. It shows about you. You can put pictures. You can do a whole bunch of different stuff on there. And it is the single most important thing for a small and medium-sized business to do. So one other thing that always comes up too when I'm sitting down talking with a lot of different, companies is they talk about, with SEO, there's like, well, I get, called or I get pitched or, I don't know how this company found me, but they're telling me that they can do all these great things through SEO. I thought this might be like a good, thing for you if that's your world. If you're having companies that are trying to pitch you on doing SEO, there's a lot of snake oil out there. And so, 5 examples of snake oil from SEO is when the company tries to tell you that, the focus is on the work instead of the increase in the traffic, right? If that company comes to you and gives you this big pitch about, we're going to update your metadata, we're going to change your URL page structures, we're going to do your structured snippets, and they start talking over your head and saying a whole bunch of different stuff you don't understand, instead of them talking about, we're going to help you get more people to your website, that's an example of snake oil. If they don't do any sort of keyword analysis to help you understand where you're ranking compared to your competitors, that's an example of snake oil. If they focus on one element, like if they sit down, they say, hey, we can do a blog and you're going to have thousands more people over to your website, and all it takes is to do a blog and that's it. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. That's an example of snake oil. When the strategy doesn't involve any competitor analysis and they're not looking at you versus your competition, that's an example of snake oil. And the big one is if the company ever promises you to have first ranking on the search engine, that's an example of snake oil too. So stay away from companies that kind of like pitch you like that, because SEO really is a big complex thing. But the main key takeaway there is to go claim your Google My Business listing. Moving on from there, and I know I'm trucking right now, and I'm sorry if this is going too fast, but we got a lot of content to get to. But I wanted to talk with you guys also about SEM, okay? So search engine marketing. So we saw that slide earlier where SEO was down the bottom and then SEM is up at the top. So there's a lot of stuff that you'll never be able to get your website like ranked for, but they're great keywords that you think that you should be in front of. I want to if anybody's familiar with the Farside comics, this is one of my favorite comics of all time, but it's this concept of push versus pull advertising. Okay, so there's a lot of misconception about paid search, Google, companies that don't do it. I personally tend to think that if you have an advertising budget, right, anything, if it's $100, right, a month, or any dollar figure, you gotta do paid search advertising. And I'll help you kind of understand this in a real simple term. It's like when you think about Google, and you think about it in terms of like advertising 101, you kind of think about it in terms of reach, targetability, and cost, right? If you have an ad medium, right, that has a big reach, that's a win. If you have an ad medium that is very highly targeted, that's a big win. And if you got an ad medium where there's a low cost, that's a big win, right? So think about it in kind of terms of like other things that you may have done, previously. Maybe you've sat down and placed an ad on the radio in the past, right? You think, man, a lot of people, listen to the radio. True, a lot of people listen to the radio, but the targetability of that radio spot might not be great because you have every single different type of demographic and person that's like listening to that radio, right? And the cost is pretty prohibitive because it's thousands and thousands of dollars to run a radio ad. Same thing with almost any other type of ad medium that you can place. But if you think about Google and you think about in those same concept there, you think about reach, right? There's nothing that has a bigger reach than Google. Right? There's no place that you can place ads more predominantly that's got the opportunity to get in front of more people than Google, right? Targetability. Think about this in the terms like this, and I typed this in because this is something that Britt and I have to do right now. Is we're going to have to look for some roofers. Found out that we had a couple extra leaks that popped up last night. So, you go roofers in Morgan Park, right? What I would challenge you is like, if a customer goes and Google's roofers in Morgan Park, do you think that there's any reason other than that person's looking to spend money on their roof that they would go Google that? And the answer is no. There's no reason. Nobody's going to go Google roofers in Morgan Park for any reason other than they want to spend money. That's the highest targetability place you can do. Push versus pull advertising is you're waiting for that customer to go search for you, and then you advertise at them rather than just shotgunning out a message. It's very powerful. And the cost, here's a great thing about this, and I always, kind of give this as a scenario compared to like direct mail as an example, is like you probably sent out, some sort of flyer, done direct mail, or done other things. And don't get me wrong, those things are very, very critical components of advertising, right? You want to do all those things if you have an overall well-established advertising budget. But think about it in terms of like direct mail is like, doing this, if somebody Googles Roofers in Morgan Park and you send them a piece of mail, and then you only pay for that mail if that customer actually responds to it and opens it up, would that be a piece of mail that you would do? And obviously the answer is yes. The cost on this, and the reason why paid search is such a critical component for like a business's way that they advertise, is because you only pay when somebody actually clicks on an ad. So if I go Google Roofers in Morgan Park and I see a bunch of ads, but I don't click on yours, I'm still influenced by it. It's still a free ad that ran. I just didn't click on it, so it didn't cost anything. The only time that you generate a cost as a business is if somebody actually clicks on that ad. So SEM, what are its goals? It's to drive traffic to the website. It's the same goal as SEO, right? You'll notice that. But the difference is that you can place ads where organic results lack. So again, there's things that you can't do from an SEO perspective that you have to do from SEM perspective. And it allows you to stay on top of mind of those customers. Search marketing, SEM actually has pay-per-click, retargeting, display. Today, we're only really going to talk about pay-per-click on this. And so here's another big key takeaway. So a lot of times when I'm consulting with businesses, they're really concerned about a lot of different things with Google, right? I've only got $50 that I can spend this month, and that's even making it tight. Great, I get it, right? You may not be able to pay a professional to sit down and consult and come up with a whole game plan and stuff for you, but you can still go and experiment, do some really cool stuff. So if you Google, right, this is why I have this, Google Ads Smart Campaigns, okay, and click on this link, right? How Smart Campaigns ads work. And this is Google's website, right? So this is just free information that's out there. But what Google Smart Ads are a free way for you to experiment with running a very teeny tiny small budget and to start playing around with setting up ads and starting to see and track the results that happen for it without the help of a professional, doing it all on your own, doing it in a very easy interface with Google, all right? So how Smart Campaigns work is like you basically build what they call campaigns. A campaign is an ad to help you start selling whatever point of your business it is that you want to sell. When you sign up for it, you write an ad that describes your business. You also describe your product or services that you're going to work on, and you set your own budget. So you tell Google how much money that you're willing to spend. There's no minimum on this. You can go in there and experiment with $25, right? Or you could do a $1,000 run. The budget doesn't matter. You can experiment with whatever you want. That's one of the reasons why this is such a good, cool, free tool from Google to do. But Google, once you actually set that up, Google's going to place your ads across their network. So it's going to place it on search. You're going to place your ads in the business listing section. They're going to place your ads in maps, on the display network, whole bunch of different stuff in places that they're going to place those. And again, you have complete control of it. So the big benefit with this, when you're thinking about the kind of the 4 key elements to creating these smart ads, is that it's super easy to set up. I'm telling you, you don't have to know anything about digital advertising. All you got to know is about your business. And if you know your business, you can set these ads up very easy. It takes about 10 minutes to walk through this whole entire thing to actually get an ad out there on Google up and live, right? It's a great investment to do right now. 2, is that you can start, again, with as small of a budget as you want. You don't have to have a lot of money, okay? You can start experimenting with small budgets to help yourself kind of get started. There's no contracts. You only pay for the clicks, right, that happen. You get a bunch of free ads that come off of it. And the 4th big thing on there is that you can then start to learn which ads are actually working to drive clicks or to drive phone calls or to drive leads onto your website. You can use this information to help you for when you want to start ratcheting up your budget. Like, so if you have kind of a business plan that, maybe right now you're not spending very much money, but maybe, once, the pandemic kind of eases up and all that kind of stuff, you have plans to kind of get back out there into the market. You can use this time right now to actually experiment, try to figure out and track which ads are actually working so that you can spend some more money on those ads later. So it's a great way to experiment with that, okay? So that's another big key takeaway. I hope you guys got that one. Last thing we're going to talk about, and then I'm done, and this will wrap up in about 4 or 5 minutes, is I also just wanted to kind of go back to, as we started to think, about the beginning portion of this deck, when we're talking about dreamers and how they're shaping things and, the way that, that they're thinking about the new technologies and stuff that are coming out there. I know that, BAPA's put on some great seminars about Instagram and Facebook. And again, those two, ad platforms are things that we should have like a series of 15 webinars about those to just dive all the way deep into how you actually work on them. But I wanted to kind of more or less kind of help you guys think about Facebook really as an advertisement medium. Okay. Because, if you're trying to promote your business, you're thinking about it in terms of a lot of different stuff. Do I advertise in the paper? Do I advertise on, through direct mail? Do I do emails? Should I spend some money on a radio spot? Should I do paid search? Should I do Google? Should I do Facebook? Those are all of those are examples of ad mediums. But most of the time, what people don't do a lot is people don't think about Facebook as an ad medium, because it has this, stigma of, I'm not sure what the stigma is, because I don't actually think it has too much of a stigma. But when you think of Facebook, just some really, really interesting conversations on this is that 72% of all adults in the US visit Facebook every month. That's mind-boggling to me, right? 22% of all time online. So everybody that spends any amount of time online, 22% of it, over 1/5 of all the time that's online is spent directly on Facebook. To put that into perspective, Google and YouTube combined only account for 11% of people's online time, right? So just think about that for a second. The average person spends over an hour. Now, this was 58 minutes, but now after pandemic has happened, it's increased well over an hour on Facebook. Over 40% of people don't ever like any sort of business listing page. So the only way to be able to reach that customer through Facebook is to do an advertisement on them. And you can deliver ads in the news feed. This right here, what you see is like an example of the news feed, and we'll talk with you a little bit about that in a second. But just think about it, as you're kind of thumbing through and scrolling through the news feed, you've got an opportunity to get in front of your customers. And when they're scrolling through Facebook, you have those people's attention. They have to see your ad. They have to be influenced by it. There's no way to skip it. It's not like on a TV spot where you can get up and, go get yourself some nachos when it's a commercial break or fast forward it, right? It's not like, it's not like getting a piece of direct mail where you can get it and just chuck it in the trash, right? People have to see your ad. It's a very, very powerful ad medium. So right now, just, some crazy facts about it, is over 2.2 billion people use Facebook services every day. That's globally, right? But that's still an unbelievable stat, right? In the US, there's 223 million users on Facebook every month. And of those 223 million, 169 million of them, or 76% of the monthly active users on Facebook, use Facebook every day, okay? Every day. Instagram, you've got 174 million customers that access Instagram every month. Messenger, right? There's 174 million people that access Messenger every month. These are all places where consumers are. In advertising 101, if you take out the digital, right, and you kind of go back to what we talked earlier about reach, targetability, and cost, if you can have a place, I always tell my clients, it's like you basically want to advertise where the customer's eyeballs are at. You want to focus there. If this is where people's eyeballs are and you've got captured attention, it's a great place to place there, right? So just think about this too. People on average, they thumb through, right? When we talk about thumb, that means like you're on Facebook and you're, doing what we all do when we're on Facebook, like looking through, oh, it's a good cookbook. Oh, that's a whatever, right? Oh, it's a funny cat commercial, whatever. But people thumb through, over 300 feet of content daily, which is basically about the height of the Statue of Liberty, right? That's how much that every day people are thumbing through, which is, it's unbelievable how much, time that we spend on Facebook. A couple other things is that you can actually match your sales back to Facebook, right? So Facebook has this really cool thing called offline transaction tracking. And basically you upload once you run an ad on Facebook, you can wait 30, 60, 90 days later. You can take the customers and the email addresses of the customers that actually spent money with you in some form or fashion over the past 30 or 60 or 90 days. You can send that back to Facebook, and then Facebook will come back and actually tell you, yes, this person, this person, this person. They won't actually give you the information of the person that clicked on it and then came in and spent money, but they will give you a sum total of all the people that saw your ad on Facebook that then came in and spent money with you. And that in and of itself is a powerful thing. If I told you, right, that, hey, if we're, again, to go back to this direct mail sales kind of idea, if I told you, hey, I'm going to do a mailer for you, but at the end of the mailer, I'm going to actually be able to show you all the people that came in off that mailer or spent money with you, and it's going to be positive, you would do that all day. That's what you can do with Facebook. So there's some very exciting things in there about being able to match customers. And there's also a lot of free platform tools that you can have with it, right? You can do pin posts. You can have free chats with like messenger service. You can do Facebook Live. You can do stories. You can do a whole bunch of different stuff. You don't even have to spend money on Facebook in order to advertise. You can get your systems out there and get your products and your services and your offerings and start making a mark about who you are, especially in this wonderful community, right, where everybody's so supportive. And it's, I'm really, truly thankful to, be a resident here now. And, so we have a great community that bands together. There's a lot of people that will take your content that you do live and share it to help you drive that business, right? So just be thinking about Facebook in terms of all the different stuff that you can do too, and kind of watching that. So without further ado, we're almost done. Just wanted to give you the kind of simplify everything and kind of give you again the key takeaways. The big things that I hope that you got from today's thing is just challenge yourself to think outside the box, right? Grow, challenge yourself, right? Invest in your website. I hope that, we spent a lot of time on the website trying to show you how to simplify it, give your customers simple call to actions, letting them know who you are simply. But if there's any place that you should invest money on, it's got to be the first spot. It's got to be your website, right? Because that's where everybody goes and it's who you are. Think about your customer's experience. Challenge yourself to think about it in the terms of not just yourself and how you view websites, but all ages and all demographics and how everybody views websites and how we consume media, right? Claim your Google My Business listings. If you have not claimed your Google My Business listings, you're literally leaving off hundreds, if not thousands, of free clicks over to your website. So it's a big critical thing there. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to call anybody. Just go to claim your business listings with Google. Start experimenting with Google Ads, right? With the smart ads. If you have, even $25 and you want to go try to experiment with it, don't call anybody, don't invest, don't get somebody from the outside or a, quote unquote SEM expert to come in. You don't need that. You can go do this on your own. Challenge yourself. You're great. You're running a business. You're doing a lot of different stuff. You can figure out how to go set up a smart ad with Google. I'm telling you. Future is social. COVID-19, the last thing is, it's really created a lot of opportunities to experiment. The last thing I'll tell you is this, my company actually kind of manages national campaigns for a lot of different companies, right? So I've got a unique viewpoint at what's going on over the course of the market as a whole. And right now, most businesses across the US have stopped or paused or really reduced the amount of money that they're spending on advertisements. Rightfully so, right? Because typically most of the country has been shut down. And especially here locally in Chicago, right? We've all been under the stay-at-home orders for what seems like forever, especially those of you like us that have kids, it seems like forever. But what it's actually done though is it's when those companies stop spending money on Google and Facebook and all that stuff, it costs a lot less, okay? So there's a big opportunity for you there to go experiment right now with some of those ads, especially through the Google Smart Ads, because it doesn't cost, it's ridiculously cheap. We've seen like a reduction of almost 30% in the actual cost per clicks coming across on a national level. So I would challenge you to think about it. This is an opportunity where you can go experiment, see what ads are working, not spend too much money on it, and then start to set yourself up for future success. Don't be shy, ask questions to gain some knowledge, and that's really the next part of this. That's it. And I am going to kick this over to Britt, I think, right now to kind of set up some Q&As, or I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
I have a few from throughout the presentation that people sent over.
Okay.
So I'll just start from the top and see if that'll work for you. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
So I got one from Ted. It was a quote he sent over. I know half of my advertising budget is wasted. I don't know which half. What's
Yeah.
your comment on that?
The old John Wanamaker quote from General Electric. I like that. That's a great quote. I would 100% agree with that. And that's the reason why digital advertising is so effective. Now, there's a lot more things that you have to do in order to be able to track it, right? I think what John Wanamaker was saying inside that quote is, he had a very, I think he was like leading GE at the time, I think is who that was, but he was, they had a national campaign. They were just carpet bombing everybody, and they're spending all types of money on all different types of ads. For a local small and business, or small and medium-sized business, we really don't have that opportunity to do that, because a lot of times we don't have those type of funds available to do that, right? So the critical thing, and we didn't get into this, but we could even set up another seminar in here, but like, if you track your website properly, and again, it goes back to your website tells you a lot of intelligence. It tells you how many people are clicking on your ad. And when they click on the ad and get over to your website, it tells you how long were they on it? Did they leave immediately? What page did they not like, right? Tells you who converted. It tells you there's a lot of intelligence. And so I think, Ted, one of the big things that you want to do is start researching Google Analytics and what you can find. And again, Google Analytics is another free tool from Google that allows you to track your website behavior. And there are ways that you can actually track customers, 2 clicks, 2 transactions, and all that stuff across a bunch of different ad mediums that are on there. So that would be the big thing, Google Analytics.
So kind of on that same page, Maggie, hi Maggie, she was asking if you're not familiar with SEO, how can we measure the results that the work is being done effectively? That would be through Google Analytics, correct?
Correct. So one of the most, and another big thing that everybody can do right now is you can install Google Analytics onto your website right now. It's literally a snippet of code that you just put into the metadata, and there's a ton of online resources that will show you how to do it for free. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to get basically a snapshot of, and you want to give yourself like a 30-day time period, but you want to track your website for 30 days, right? To kind of get a base level of what is your website actually doing. And what you're really looking for is how many people, how many clicks did I get over onto my website, right? For the first 30 days. Then once you start spending money on advertising or doing stuff with SEO and paying somebody to do additional things for you for SEO, if you're not getting an increase in the traffic from what you had previously, or if you're not also getting a corresponding increase in the customers that are converting or spending more time on your website, then whatever it is that they're doing is not working, and you need to fire them and go find somebody else, right? So that would, a lot of that ties back into Google Analytics and properly being able to track and see the history of what's on your website right now.
All right, we got a lot coming up here. So I do see your question, Caroline. I'm not sure this is Jason's realm, so I will get back to you on that privately, and we'll try to find out about that. So I have one from Gregory. If you have a website where customers can order online, should you also set up a Facebook online orders list as well? I can maybe answer this. So you can, depending on your what you use for your POS system for your website, you can connect that directly with Facebook. And that way your products are integrated just right onto the platform. I know there's also a way to do it separately. Yeah, I think that having a Shop Now button on Facebook is very important. And it just makes the easier you're making it for your customers to shop and click, I mean, the more sales you're going to get. So do you have anything to add on that, Jace?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback 100% on that is, if it takes you 2 hours to do it, right? The worst thing that's going to happen is you don't get any additional traffic or whatever, or more leads, but you got to go where your people are, and your people are on Facebook, they're on Instagram, right? They are on those ad mediums. You got to get there and do every single thing that you possibly can do to expose yourself on there. It doesn't cost anything. It's going to only benefit you.
So any suggestions on a source to help with designing a new website? Yes, the Clearys at ArgusNet. I think Jim was on here earlier, if I saw. But Margarita, I would be happy to give you their information. I'm going to drop mine in the chat box, and you can shoot me an email. I think that was it. Can you target Facebook ads locally? Yes, you can. You can get into the Facebook ad. You can pick your audience. You can target to people who like businesses that are like your business. You can target people that are in your area with certain interests. There is a ton of things that you can experiment with, and it's very simple to boost your posts on Facebook. And Jace, if you want to talk a little bit more about that, please do.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on that again, is that, all the things that you do, whether through it's, we didn't just have the time to get into it today on these, but as a, local business, right? All those ad platforms, whether it's Google or Facebook or Insta or whatever it is that you're doing, they all give you the ability to narrow your focus and target only people like directly in your area, right? So you can even target just specific zip codes. If you don't even want to like break out a 60643 as an example, you can do that, So yeah, that's a great question, because there's a lot of, kind of misinformation out there about that. Just because you set up an ad on Google or on Facebook doesn't mean it's going to get, show up in Detroit, right? You can control that through those interfaces.
I think that was it. So if nobody else has any questions, just reiterating that if you need anything at all, you can send me an email or call me. My email address is bwiley, WILEY @bapa.org. I did put it in the chat box as well. You can also just send me a Facebook message or whatever is easiest for you. But we would be happy to help with anything kind of on a deeper level if we can. And thank you so much for participating. And Jason, thanks so much for taking time out to help everyone today.
Yeah, pleasure is all mine. I hope they got something great from it. And thank you guys very much. Sincerely, stay safe out there.
All right, thanks everyone. And I did record this as well, and we'll be posting it. If anyone couldn't join, let them know. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.